Have you noticed how nothing feels stable right now? We have nonstop talk of war, nuclear testing, AI headlines, civil unrest, and a whole lot of spiritual confusion. It's all blending together in this strange, chaotic fog. It's like we've reached a point where no one really knows what's real anymore. Not the media, not politicians, and honestly, not even many spiritual voices. So today I want to help you see what is really happening, because underneath all of this noise, there is a deeper pattern unfolding that we all need to be aware of. And one question we each need to ask is, when the outer world breaks down, how do we stay coherent and sovereign inside of ourselves? Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean. For over 25 years, I've been working with Archangel Michael and helping thousands of people on this planet navigate the events on Earth so they can stay on a grounded path of natural ascension. So let's start with what is happening in the world right now. November is already carrying some of the most unstable energy we have seen all year. Tensions are rising globally. War is either simmering or it's active somewhere on Earth at all times. In the US, civil unrest is brewing beneath the surface. It feels like people are ready to snap at any moment. We're hearing casual talk again about nuclear testing, which is kind of surreal considering that we already know where that path leads to. And the news cycle has become so erratic that it's impossible to predict what's coming even a week or two in advance. And then, of course, there's AI. It is everywhere. Some people call it humanity's savior, and others call it the end of humanity. But either way, it's taking up a huge part of our collective attention. All of this is mirroring a deep truth. Humanity has depended on the outer world to exist as a stable, predictable foundation upon which we can live our lives. And when it was like that before 2020, it was much easier to evolve because we could focus on creating our lives. There was a semi-reliable base underneath our feet. But now that the outer world is becoming increasingly fragmented and unpredictable, it's causing a mirror effect within our human consciousness. Our human consciousness is beginning to mirror the outer world's fragmentation and volatility. It's becoming increasingly unpredictable. It's really important that we address this now because things are only going to intensify in November. So let's talk about what's happening inside the spiritual community of consciousness, because it's reflecting the same disarray on a collective level. More and more, I'm seeing people projecting magical meanings on external things as a way to cope with uncertainty, as a way to cope with the disappointment of things not turning out the way they expected. It's like the mind says this: if I can attach a cosmic meaning to something outside of myself, then I don't have to feel so much spiritual and emotional pain. Take 3I Atlas, for example, the giant space rock that's been getting so much attention. I've seen people claim all kinds of things about what is just an ordinary occurrence when you live in space. And we actually do live in space, you guys. There are billions of objects that have been passing through and around our solar system forever, for as long as the sun and its family of planets has been around. There's not a wall around our solar system. And certainly there have probably been actual spaceships that have passed by. They probably lost the map telling them to stay away from one of the most violent planets in the cosmos. And that would be us, of course. It's kind of like ending up in a bad neighborhood because your GPS is broken. So 3i Atlas is just another object passing through. It's probably just a rock or a comet or some kind of space debris. And even if it is a really ugly spaceship, you gotta wonder about a species that would create such weirdness. But I don't think it's a spaceship. I honestly don't have any feeling for it at all. It will be gone before we know it, and then we'll be on to the next thing that catches our collective fancy. And here's why I bring this up, you guys. This is a perfect example of my larger point. The things that people are projecting onto this poor little bit of space debris are frankly outrageous. There are people assigning all kinds of magical meanings to this thing. We are acting like those primitive tribes who were terrified of a solar eclipse because they thought a monster was eating the sun. We would never be that stupid, right? No, we wouldn't do that. We would know to assign positive magical meanings to objects in the sky. You know, things like 3i Atlas is an epic, galactic, cosmic event. It's here to deliver high-frequency codes to the Earth and to restructure our entire reality. And it's here to usher in the new Earth. Others claimed that the math proved the following. On October 30th, over 6 billion people on Earth would be pushed into enlightenment and cosmic consciousness by this rock. Well, as I'm filming this in November, that certainly hasn't happened. But wait, others say that on a certain date in November, everyone on Earth, all of humanity on Earth, will be shifted into unity consciousness, paving the way for the new Earth. All because of this thing flying through space. There are even people who are saying that they are channeling cosmic messages from this rock. And then there are those who say they can prove that this is not a rock because it doesn't behave like a rock. They like to use fragments of mathematics and physics that they grabbed off the internet to prove their point. Here's what I'll say about that. Do you think that a human species that is as addicted to war and violence as this one is, living on this tiny little invisible speck of dust, which is really how infinitesimally small planet Earth really is, do you think that species has any context whatsoever to understand everything that is possible in this entire gargantuan interdimensional universe? I mean, what are their reference points, you guys? So no, I don't think that's a reasonable assumption by any stretch of the imagination. And then there are the doom and gloomers who say that 3i Atlas is an alien ship filled with millions of alien enemies preparing to launch an attack on our planet. I even heard someone say that they did a remote viewing of this thing and discovered that there were 5 million reptilians in hibernation on this thing. Seriously, they say that this is the dark secret that NASA is keeping from us. See, this is why extraterrestrials do not come here. We must look completely unhinged and crazy to be hyperventilating over a simple space rock, simply because we don't understand how it's moving. Okay, let's talk about something a little more realistic. Let's start with this. You know all those photos that are all over the internet of this thing that makes it look like a spaceship or a magical rock or something with little lights around it and all of these wild, mysterious things going on? All those images? Most, if not all of them, are artists' renditions. Guys, those are not photographs of this thing. And secondly, have you looked at NASA's map of the trajectory of this? Now, I know people who are heavily invested in these magical stories are going to say, NASA's doing a cover-up. Well, guys, saying that NASA's doing a cover-up does not validate a magical story. That's not a way to validate it. But here's a map with the actual trajectory of this thing. It is not coming anywhere near the Earth. It's not on the other side of the sun. The sun doesn't have sides. It's a sphere. So if you look at a map of how this thing is traveling, honestly, it looks like it doesn't have anything to do with us. Like nothing at all. And I will also suggest that it has nothing to do with our solar system either. It's just passing through like comets and other objects in space often do. And then there are people who say, oh, but you know, this is only the third time we've ever seen anything like this. Well, we didn't have the technology to see such things up until a few years ago. That could be why it's only the third time. So I find all of these magical projections on a little piece of space debris, whether it's a comet or a rock or whatever, to be really concerning, you guys. This is concerning. We need to look at ourselves. What the heck are we doing? Now, a very similar kind of projection is happening with AI. Some claim that AI is a divine intelligence or a portal to God, and that AI is also here to usher in the new Earth. Others say that it's our job as humans to help AI come to life as a sentient being so it can take us into higher dimensions of reality. There are so many magical powers being assigned to this artificial machine technology. People say that AI can literally evolve your consciousness, so you don't have to. All you have to do is just go along for the amazing ride that AI will take you on into higher levels of consciousness. Your ticket to the higher realms can be had merely by logging onto your favorite AI platform. And of course, hope that there are no power failures along the way. Guys, this is evidence of an abysmal lack of sovereignty. If you believe these magical stories, you can never be responsible for where you end up. Which is highly questionable, by the way. I mean, what a great confidence builder. So why is this happening? Why is this getting so extreme? See, when people are disillusioned, when their prophecies don't come true, and we know there are many prophecies that have been made that have not come true, or when the world doesn't transform overnight, the mind starts grasping for new stories. It's a psychological attempt to make sense out of what feels maybe hopeless or maybe senseless. It's a way to find emotional stability when you have no idea what's going on or why you're even here on this planet. But the more that we project magical meanings outward, the more disconnected we become from our own direct experience of reality. And that disconnection, that lack of grounded inner clarity that you can personally own, is exactly what's causing the spiritual confusion that we are seeing right now. These increasingly wild, magical stories being projected on things in the outer world seem more like acts of desperation instead of sound spiritual insights. And if we don't make some deep inner changes in terms of how we see the world, a lot of people are going to be in for a very rude awakening. They're going to wake up one day and realize how much of this was an act of spiritual, emotional escapism, and that none of it was real. Or even worse, it could prove to be very damaging in the long run. It could set you back millennia in your journey of cosmic evolution. So where does this leave us in the month of November and beyond? Things are definitely going to feel increasingly incoherent in November. It might even feel like reality is breaking apart in completely new ways. We are at a choice point. If you excessively project spiritual meaning onto any part of the outside world, in order to feel safe, here's what can happen. You will begin to weaken your natural inner anchor to a higher reality. And at some point, you could risk losing that anchor altogether. You risk becoming unmoored from the ability to trust yourself and trust your heart. And in that case, you become extremely vulnerable to forces that are not in your best interest. So here's what I encourage you to do. Ground your awareness in direct experience, not in fantasy. Reclaim your discernment. Don't outsource meaning to comets, to AI, or to the internet. Remember that sovereignty doesn't mean knowing what's next. Sovereignty is about trusting your deep inner connection to life itself. So as much as we all like to know the future, November is not about predicting what's coming. It's about choosing who you will be to yourself in the face of all this uncertainty. It's time to find a solid experience of coherence within you. One that doesn't depend on corporations and power grids like AI depends on. One that doesn't depend on fanciful stories that sound good but have no evidence whatsoever in the world that we actually live in. So instead of searching the internet for the latest, greatest story that makes you feel good, try exploring the amazing life force energy that lies right beneath your own breath. Guys, this is the very same energy that holds this entire universe together. And it's right inside of you. There is an entire world of amazingness right within you, just waiting to be explored. That, my friends, is where true sovereignty lies. It lies in your personal discovery of yourself as a creator. So don't waste your life looking for deep meaning where it doesn't exist. Go to where it actually is, which is right inside your inner being and your heart of hearts. It's something you were born with. So let me know something. Would you love to experience the untapped beauty and power inside of you? Would you love to have that level of sovereignty that cannot be touched by the world's craziness and unpredictability? If you would love that experience, then give this video a like to firmly state your intention. And I'd love it if you also share your thoughts in the comments. I always read every single one. And if this video resonated for you, then share it with someone else who might feel a little bit lost in all of the chaos. So take this month of November to strengthen your personal sovereignty, explore the incredibleness that you are as a living human being. Bring yourself to a point where you can hold your own in your consciousness, no matter what is going on in this crazy outer world. And with that, I'm sending you all so much love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends, and I will see you in the next video. Namaste.